Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Space Weather. Who knew you'd be watching? I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho, and I'm going to vanish off the screen because there's too much spectacular information to cover today, including C4 class solar flare fireworks, an increase in the radio flux, the potential for a coronal mass ejection remains, and discounts to be announced. From the Smash News Network, here's the sun, the last day of activity in 193 angstroms, one of the UV emission spectral states of ionized iron. And you can see some activity kicking off down there in the lower left corner. It's sunspot 2785 and sunspot 2786 joining forces to create some interesting activity, to say the least. We'll show you all about it on our HelioViewer movies. The radio flux has jumped up to 96 solar flux units. So it was at 85 yesterday, and a sudden increase as that sunspot 2786, the largest of cycle 25, moves into view on the southeastern limb. There's the one-year graph of the radio flux. Welcome to cycle 25. Welcome to the DO Renaissance. Welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Here's a visible light image here. You can see that large sunspot, much larger than the Earth, just the umbral core of that. And here's what we're talking about when we say spectacular C4 solar flare. It's a 94 angstroms view. And it looks like none of that ejecta ended up leaving the corona. It all splashed down onto the chromosphere. And that happened around 2300 yesterday on the 23rd. Here's a 304 angstroms view of the same exact zone. Great view of that flare and that splashdown. Let that play through one more time before we look at today's videos. Again, this one's from about 2200 Universal Time yesterday. So here's a view from the LASCO C2 as well as the SDO 304 angstroms view. We've got a little bit of a lapse in the coverage here. We'll just move on to show you the 171 angstroms view, which will also include that C4 class flare. Sunspot 2783 is still a sunspot as well, but the size of those larger sunspots in the southeast are significant. And we'll probably have to make another video this afternoon as a result of all this activity. If you haven't seen our smAshomash.org Presents the Sun series, it's a playlist. You can see all of our playlists at youtube.com/smashomash/playlists. And we've got some more close-ups of the current activity. Here's the magnetogram, and all of those sunspots are looking pretty stable here over the past 24. And there's some additional data for you. And here's an extreme close-up of sunspot 2786 and 2785. So this is 2785. And this is 2786. And plenty more stuff to cover here. Let me just check a life of the stream here. Thanks for leaving comments. Be stoic. Ahoy! Or should I say arg? Arg, matey. Today's Smashlight segment is going to be vastly reduced. First of all, I'd like to invite everybody to head to smAsho.com, the official website of the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. You can see all our social media, our VoIP line, email address, etc. If you scroll down, you'll see links to the SmAsho forum, the SmAsho store, and the Smash store, as well as to all of our recent smAshomash.org Presents the Sun videos. If you head to the SmAsho store, you'll see these featured products. And if you head to the... I've got the wrong link there, I apologize. If you head to the SmAsho store, you'll see these products, and you can get a 10% discount through Christmas on all of these with the promo code SMASHO. SMASHO, SMASHO is the promo code. So check that out. Again, you can link to all of that stuff at smAshomash.com, smAshomash.org. We've also got a Discord channel. You can find links to all of that stuff and all of our social media. From our homepage. We're also on Instagram. Help us get to 500 followers. And you'll see exclusive content if you follow us also on BitChute, thanks to our subscribers over there. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We're doing stuff nobody else is capable of doing, I think. And we're also on alt tech, places like minds.com, gab.com. They're all at SmAshoMash. And we are currently streaming live to Twitch. It's a fantastic live streaming platform. They've got a great mobile app also. You can download that for free. It'll give you notifications whenever we do go live. When I suddenly appear and vanish. Again, thanks to our followers over at Twitch, twitch.tv/SmAshoMash. And we're falling into a tunnel. Now, we do have a brief cosmology segment today that we're going to cover as well, as we are very interested in cosmology here at the Smash News Network. We're not going to throw any dice today. We're going to talk about a magnetar. It's 1E1547.0-5408. It is interesting in that it is located about 14,000 light years away from the Sun, or you could say the Earth. Close enough. And this one has a magnetic field of more than a quadrillion times stronger than the magnetic field of our planet at 640 trillion Gauss. If you want to read about that, there's an article in the phys.org Astronomy and Space section. If you want to follow the X-ray transient bursts from this yourself, head to the Neil Gorell Swift X-ray Observatory. Hit Control F and type in 1547, and you'll find the X-ray transients. It's quite consistent here over the past 14 years. I would note it has been increasing a little bit here in its overall fluctuations. And the recent scenario is shown here in the lower left. That is your daily. Actually, it's been bursting in the past day, in the past few hours, indeed. And if you want to see more about that, head to the Neil Gorell Swiftbat X-ray Observatory, click on Simbad, click on Aladdin Light. If you want to know where it's located, that's where it is. This right here, folks, for you new viewers, that is the Milky Way galactic core. And you can see it's nowhere near the galactic core. And here's a zoom in. There you go. There's where that magnetar is located. And there's a close-up. We are using the 2MASS, which is in the infrared band at 2.16 nanometers. Next, I'd like to thank our patrons, the true source of funding for the content, as we make almost zero money on YouTube fraudware, Google AdSense payouts. I'm sure it has nothing to do with our content being throttling or anything like that. I'm sure it's not throttled. I'm sure shadow bans are just a figment of our imagination. Thanks for providing some incentive, Patreons. Patreon.com/smAsho, the true source of funding for the content. And we might not be making these videos if it wasn't for our patrons, or at least they might not be publicly visible. Increase the probability that they will remain publicly visible and free for everybody to see. Patreon.com/smAsho. Increase the probability that we don't suddenly vanish. And no, be stoic, I did not see the massive primer bowl that you made, but that's exciting. I can't wait to see it. Thanks for leaving comments. Again, if you want to see the content live, check out twitch.tv/smAsho. We regularly make daily space weather videos there. We do also stream to all the other spots, and there's exclusive content. Check all the social media at smAshomash.com. Here's the last 24 hours of solar wind data. And we see a subsiding of that coronal hole wind stream here. It lasted about 2 days. Now we're down to about 444 kilometers a second for solar wind velocity. Very low solar wind density here, down to 2.56 protons per cubic centimeter. And we see an apparent coronal hole magnetic connection here. Phi angle around 220 degrees. And we do see a massive North Pole coronal hole. We'll get to it momentarily. First, a KP index has dropped all the way down from a KP of 5 to a KP of 0. As that coronal hole wind stream subsided. So let's look at cosmic ray flux. We haven't looked at it for a few days. We do regularly show you the legitimate cosmic ray monitors here on the channel. Here's the opacity neutron monitor. And you can see there actually is a slight uptick here over the past 30 days. Very slight. Here's Barentsburg. Maybe a tiny uptick there as well. Next, we'll go much farther south to Athens, Greece. And we are looking at only pressure-corrected data, as there is higher pressure at lower latitudes here. So there's Athens, Greece, and you can see it's quite flat over the past 30 days. Next, we'll look at Mexico City. There's the Mexico City Cosmic Ray Observatory. Pretty flat here over the past 30 days there as well. And lastly, we'll look at Oulu, Finland, and DOMC Antarctica. Actually, let's check DOMB Antarctica as well. There's Oulu. And oh, will you look at that? Cosmic ray flux was still higher back in 2010 than it is now. Who would have guessed it? Who would have defrauded their viewers and told them it's higher now? Fraudsters, that's who. Fraudsters who have an agenda and a bottom line, who will send you the data from the Thule neutron monitor, which is crap, and say, look, this proves something, and it proves nothing. Anyway, there's Oulu. You can see it's actually a slight uptick there over the past 30 days. Let's look at DOMC Antarctica. No data. And DOMB Antarctica's got no data. DOMC is showing a flat 30 days. Now, we regularly call people for their nonsense here at YouTube and on our other videos. Why? Because cosmic ray flux is ultra important when it comes to the climate. It has to do with cloud nucleation, and cosmic ray flux can change the Earth's climate for periods of thousands of years. And so that's why we got to call people on it, because if they're going to lie to their viewers after being informed that their data is bunk, well, I find that highly, highly unethical. And it makes me wish that their channels would vanish in many ways. And don't take our word for it. Monitor the cosmic ray stations yourself. Next, we're going to look at the magnetosphere. And we see a highly dense region out here near the bow shock, despite not a particularly dense solar wind coming in. You can see those striations there of low-density solar wind shown as light color bars coming from the left. That's 4 hours of data courtesy University of Michigan. Here's the pressure. And these are all essentially the same thing that we're showing here, and you can see big variations in the pressure especially out in the bow shock region. And you can also see a bit of the relationship between the magnetotail and the bow shock region. That's the magnetotail right there. As some plasma gets pulled back into the solar wind. Now, we've been seeing problems with ground magnetic perturbations. It's only showing us a still image, so let's bypass that. We don't see any major proton strikes in the magnetosphere. And there's that C-class flare that we showed you in the early HelioViewer movies. And there is still a significant potential for M-class flares, especially out of sunspot 2786, but also sunspot 2785. Next, in-the-sky.org. I'd like to know what's going on above my head. Where will you be when Cygnus rises? If you're up before dawn, you may see Venus, the third brightest object in the sky. Speaking of Venus, it looks like there's not as much phosphine as people thought. Some people claim that there was no phosphine at all, but there still appears to be some phosphine, an indication there may be life on Venus. What say you? Leave us a comment if you've got theories about Venus and the phosphine in the atmosphere, a probable biosignature, life on Venus, looking perhaps even more likely than life on Mars. That article is also in the phys.org Astronomy and Space section. Here's what's going on in the solar system. There's where things will be in a week on December 1st, just coming off of a full moon. GOES magnetometer showing high readings here, an indication that the North Pole solar polar field is pretty strong. We are solidly in the North Pole current sheet, and despite the way the next frame is going to look, we're going to stay there probably, unless there is some activity rising in the northern latitudes of the solar surface. Here's the top view ecliptic plane field plot, which is showing you the magnetism of the current sheet, the magnetic polarity of the current sheet, North Pole shown in green, South Pole shown in red. And despite the way that looks, I'm not expecting us to suddenly snap into the South Pole current sheet anytime soon. Next, we'll look at the coronal hole line of sight field plot. There's a line of sight coronal hole field plot, and you can see that this North Pole coronal hole is extending all the way down to the solar equator there. Another indication that solar minimum is far behind us. Solar minimum is over, folks. And by the way, we're going to see more sunspots than last year. Less sunspot-free days. Here's a line of sight field plot. It also shows you the Z fields in green and red, North Pole and South Pole, respectively. Keep in mind, this magnetic data we're showing you here is 1 hour and 35 minutes old and can suddenly change with no warning. And some odd pulls toward the north there in the last little bit of this. You can see that little yank of the B field up in this direction, right there. Kind of surprising considering the size of those sunspots. Next, looking at the magnetic field plot of the corona itself, and it's a little bit chaotic here, as we've got coronal holes and sunspots interacting. And this one shows you closed potential field force lines in pink and open potential field force lines in black or purple. Next, we'll talk electrons, and we are in electron warning mode here. We're going to see some charging hazards. Don't be surprised if you see some communications errors. There are the current charging hazards. Here's the 1-year graph, and you can see we're just on the line, and we're expecting this to be at higher levels here. Again, there is the forecast according to NOAA, and I would tend to agree. Don't be surprised if you see all kinds of breakdowns. It doesn't mean that China has deployed an electromagnetic pulse in an effort to take over the world. China is a paper tiger. China. 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 Hey, get that Get that cheap plastic Chinese China virus out of here. It's China, cheap Chinese China plastic. Made by a Chinaman or something. Chinese pangolins. Okay. It's all caused by Chinese pangolins. Okay. Or something. And there's the 3-day graph of the electron flux, and you can see we got into warning levels yesterday. We're expecting to see higher warning levels today and the next day. So an increase here in electron flux. We could see all kinds of satellite shutdowns and communications errors as a result. If you were a patron, you would have known that by yesterday. As our patrons get all kinds of early access updates, ringtones, songs, and other files that nobody else gets to see, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/smAsho. Here's a visualization of the entire air column. And we see fairly disorganized bands here at nighttime around the equator. And don't be surprised to see some anomalies in that over the next couple of days. Here's the ionosphere, and we're looking for some anomalies in this as well. And we do see them. We see surprisingly charged up ionosphere at nighttime. And keep in mind, solar flares do have an effect on that. There were some radio blackouts last night, actually over all of New Zealand and parts of Australia as a result of that C4 solar flare. Let me bring up the latest image here and move on to volcanoes and earthquakes and meteorology. And there's the current image at 10:15 Universal Time when we made the video. Volcano rundown includes Klutchevskoy, producing a 23,000-foot ash plume. Abiko now back on the list, a 10,000-foot ash plume there. So an uptick at Paramushir Island. I don't know where it's located. I'm not going to look it up. Suwanosejima is also erupting, 6,000-foot ash plume there, 7,000-foot ash plume as Tokono explodes. Ongoing low-level ash emissions in steam plume at White Island, just north of New Zealand's North Island. Sangay's exploding, flight level 210, a 21,000-foot ash plume there. And while we are unable to detect volcanic ash in satellite imagery or other imagery of Sabancaya, please don't attempt to pole vault the caldera. It could be unhealthful. We're seeing an earthquake drought here, big time. If you're in an earthquake-prone zone such as these areas, it's time to put on your warning belts. If you're in these zones, please have an earthquake plan. As we're seeing a drought of 8 and 9 and 7 magnitude earthquakes, please attempt to be an asset, not a liability. If buildings are going to start to collapse, how about knowing which ones might collapse before you evacuate yours? It could save your bacon so that you can save other people's bacon. And let's run up the list. The largest of the past 24 was only a minor 5 magnitude quake. We see some deep quakes striking Alaska as it's surrounded by low pressure zones. Here's a deep quake at Argentina. It's a 4.6 magnitude at 256 kilometers depth. Largest of the past 24 was this 5.4 magnitude near Guam. Here's another deep quake at Chile, a 4.6 magnitude at just over 100 kilometers depth. Followed in short order, actually it took a couple hours. There's another deep quake in Mexico, nearly 200 kilometers depth at a 4.5 magnitude. Another deep quake at Chile. And we just saw a quake in the center of the U.S. Actually, 2 quakes striking Nevada just recently. And check out that low pressure system. That is a powerful one there, just off the west coast of Alaska. Let's advance this windy.com map here into the GFS forecast for tomorrow. There's where we expect things to be at 1300. This is the GFS forecast for the next, say, 29 hours. As a low pressure system moves over the southern Great Lakes area. and allow me to get back off the screen. Yes, be stoic. I agree we should be going to Venus, not Mars. It's a much shorter trip. You're much less likely to die of cosmic ray exposure. Acute radiation sickness. Yeah. Next, looking at nullschool.net's jet streams. Look at that extreme meridional jet stream flow. It's like the dictionary definition of meridional jet stream flow. Here is the eastern world's jet streams. There you go. Next, looking at lightningmaps.org to show you a real-time lightning map. It's what I use when I hear thunder. And we've got some sudden strikes here over the central U.S. Hey, Lexington, Nebraska. Hey, North Platte. There's thunder rolling. If you're in Lexington, get outside and look to the northwest. You might see a spectacular light show up there. Maybe take some time-lapse footage and get some images of some sprites which may be showing up above those thunderheads. Next, we'll look at the, first, before we look at the GOES Lightning Mapper, I would invite everybody to press like and subscribe over on YouTube. YouTube.com/smAsho. We're doing what nobody else is capable of doing, apparently, otherwise they'd be doing it. And this is the data that I looked at, which is the origin of how these videos started. Here's the NASA GOES 16 Lightning Mapper. And it's showing some lightning over New Mexico and Texas, as well as south of Bermuda. Quite a lot of lightning there around Bermuda. U.S. Doppler radar map is next. There you go. And let me just check the life of the stream before I put that back up. And everything looks just fine. Just fine. Getting some heavy snow there over northern Illinois and eastern Iowa. Here's what's going on in the cloud layer. Look at all the low clouds over the Atlantic Ocean once again. Those are the kind of clouds that are caused by cosmic ray flux, by the way, folks. And they have a very distinct signature. In fact, let's actually zoom in on them for once using the 3.9 nanometer NASA GOES interactive weather satellite. Here's a great view of those low clouds as well as these high clouds. That is a higher altitude, low pressure system moving over the top of the Atlantic Ocean. Here's the water vapor map. And we'll zoom in on the Illinois, Iowa region here to give folks in that area some indication of what's going on with their weather. And we do actually intend to officially start making meteorology videos soon. It'll be one of the many value-added services that the channel will be creating, as the Smash News Network is about to become a completely varied news source, where we'll be making Smash Light segments and all kinds of other videos about literally whatever we want, not just the sun and space weather and astrophysics and cosmology. So there you go, there's the water vapor map. And I'm going to actually go back to the nationwide view here once again. And we've got more value-added services here, so stay tuned, folks. Please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times. We've got these bonus features, such as the full disk view of the sun. We're going to use 131 angstroms today. We're also going to show you the intensitygram and the colorized magnetogram to show you the most current images of especially sunspot 2786, but also sunspot 2783. So there's sunspot 2783, and it's actually gained some complexity here. It's got a second umbra, and we see trailing umbrae of the opposite polarity. It's back to beta class. Here's 2785, and here's 2786. A quite gargantuan sunspot by any measure. And there's a bunch of activity trailing it also. You can see it's just moving into view now. Large active region following it, and there's a huge plasma plume in between the Earth and this system. While there was a little bit of mass ejection, this area right in here has got a bunch of plasma suspended by those fields. There you can see a great view. It looks like there might be some activity kicking off as we make the live stream here from Sunspot 2786. You can see those little striations there around the penumbra region. And here's the 131 angstroms view. This gives you a great view of that splashdown that happened. This is 2 days worth of activity. And we are essentially out. Again, thanks for tuning in, viewers. Please don't forget to press like and subscribe. Please share our content on your social media. As we've got hardly 1,600 subscribers here on YouTube, and we're essentially toiling in anonymity. So please share the content, as we've demonstrated for a couple of years here our ability to solar forecast in ways nobody else is apparently capable of doing. So thanks again. May that solar wind be at your back. May that covidiocy be absent from your doorstep. May that tyranny be absent from your governor's office. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. It'll never be now again. So remember, if you're driving, don't drink, and if you drink, don't drive. Seriously, don't drive. Cheap and Chinese. What can I say? It's cheap. It's made from Chinese, cheap Chinese plastic. Okay, stealing American capital and making it out of cheap Chinese plastic.